You feel it the moment you wake up. That heaviness behind your eyes, the ache settling into your bones, the heat creeping under your skin before you've even touched your forehead to check. You reach for your phone, you search your symptoms, you text someone, you take a pill, pull the blanket up, and wait for the world to fix you. But here's what no one tells you. That instinct, the one that makes you retreat, go still, stop eating, seek warmth, pull close to another body, that isn't weakness. That is one of the oldest survival programs in human history still running inside you right now. What did ancient humans actually do when they got sick? The answer is stranger, more sophisticated, and more human than you probably expect. Start with something most people don't know about fevers. Your body does not produce a fever by accident. It is not a malfunction. A fever is a deliberate, precisely engineered response. When a pathogen enters your bloodstream, your immune system releases chemical messengers called pyrogens, meaning fire makers, that signal your hypothalamus to raise your core temperature. The goal is to cook the invader. Most bacteria reproduce optimally at 37 degrees Celsius. Push that temperature to 38.5 or 39 and their replication rate drops sharply. Your ancient ancestors felt that same heat. They didn't know why, but they listened to it. Anthropologist Edward Hagen at Washington State University has studied what he calls sickness behavior across dozens of cultures and species. His research shows that when animals and humans get sick, a predictable constellation of behaviors appears automatically: fatigue, withdrawal, loss of appetite, increased sleep, reduced movement. Hagen argues these aren't symptoms of illness. They are the cure, or at least they are part of the cure. Your body is pulling energy away from muscles and redirecting it to your immune system. Sleep accelerates the production of cytokines, the proteins your immune cells use to communicate and attack. Hunger suppression forces your gut to stop processing food and redirect blood flow to your defenses. Stillness reduces the metabolic cost of movement so your body can burn that fuel fighting infection instead. Ancient humans didn't understand the biology, but they felt the pull and they obeyed it. That pull had a location. In early hunter-gatherer bands, the groups of 20 to 80 people your ancestors actually lived inside for most of human prehistory. Getting sick meant something immediate and social. You slowed down, and the group noticed. Archaeological evidence from sites like Cima de los Huesos in Spain, dated to over 430,000 years ago, shows something remarkable. Skeletal remains of individuals with severe congenital disabilities or long-term injuries that would have made survival alone impossible. These people lived for years, sometimes decades, past the point where they could have fed or defended themselves. Someone was caring for them. Caregiving is ancient. It may be one of the oldest uniquely human behaviors. When a member of the group fell ill, they were not abandoned. The logic of a small, cooperative band made that impractical anyway. In a group that hunts together, everyone depends on everyone. A sick member today is a strong member tomorrow, worth investing in. Groups that abandoned their sick died out faster than groups that nursed them back. So your ancient ancestor lay down, and someone brought them food, kept the fire going, and sat nearby. Now consider what they reached for. Across virtually every early human culture studied, the response to illness involved plants. Medicinal plant use appears in the archaeological record going back at least 60,000 years. In a Neanderthal burial site at Shanidar Cave in Iraq, excavated by Ralph Solke in the 1950s and later reanalyzed, researchers found pollen deposits from plants like yarrow, groundsel, and ephedra, all species with documented anti-inflammatory, analgesic, or decongestant properties. Whether placed deliberately or not remains debated, but the plants were there. What is not debated is that primates use plants medicinally. Chimpanzees observed by primatologist Michael Huffman in Tanzania regularly consume the bitter pith of Vernonia amygdalina, a plant toxic in large doses but powerfully antiparasitic in small ones, specifically when they are infected with parasitic worms. They seek it out, they consume it. The parasite load drops, then they stop. Your ancestors were doing something like this hundreds of thousands of years before written medicine. They had no germ theory, they had no microscopes. But they had tens of thousands of years of accumulated trial and observation. The healers of early human groups, the individuals who carried this knowledge, were among the most valuable members of the community. Not hunters, not fighters, healers. Every culture that has ever been studied has some version of this figure. The shaman, the medicine woman, the herbalist, the elder who knows which root reduces swelling and which bark stops bleeding. This knowledge was transmitted orally, experientially, generation to generation. It was the original database. And then there was isolation. Here is where ancient medicine gets subtle. Long before humans understood contagion in any scientific sense, they behaved as though they did. Anthropological records from Aboriginal Australian communities, indigenous North American groups, and early Eurasian populations all document versions of the same practice. Individuals showing signs of certain illnesses were separated from the main group, given a shelter nearby, tended to but kept apart. How did they know to do this? The same way the chimpanzee knows which plant to eat, experience, pattern recognition. The person who coughed started a cluster of coughs. The person who bled from their gums was later joined by others who also bled from their gums. Eventually, the group learned, without knowing why, that distance protected the well. Evolutionary biologist Paul Ewald at the University of Louisville has argued that human social behavior around illness is itself a form of evolved disease management. That groups which developed instinctive avoidance of the clearly sick had higher survival rates, and those behaviors became culturally reinforced and eventually biologically tuned. Your discomfort when someone sneezes near you, that is ancient. There was also ritual, and here is where most modern readers want to roll their eyes but shouldn't. When ancient humans got sick, spiritual intervention was not separate from medical intervention. It was the same intervention. The healer who gave you the willow bark tea also sang over you, pressed symbols into your skin, called out to whatever forces the group believed governed life and death. This was not ignorance dressed up as medicine. It was medicine operating at the edge of what the group understood. And here is the thing that modern research is quietly confirming. It worked. Not because spirits exist, but because the mind and body are not separate systems. Neuroscientist Fabrizio Benedetti at the University of Turin has spent decades studying placebo effects and found that expectation alone can trigger measurable biological responses. Real reductions in pain signaling, real changes in hormone levels, real effects on immune markers. The belief that you were being healed changed the physiology of healing. Your ancient ancestor lay in the firelight. Someone they trusted pressed herbs to their skin, sang old words, held their hand. Their nervous system shifted from threat response to safety response. Cortisol dropped, sleep deepened. The immune system, briefly freed from the metabolic cost of vigilance, pushed harder. That is not magic. That is biology responding to meaning. So what did ancient humans do when they got sick? They stopped. They rested. They let the group carry them. They swallowed bitterness that had been proven across generations to help. They were held and sung to and watched over until the fever broke or it didn't. And if it didn't, if the illness took them, the group grieved together, buried them with care, and carried forward the knowledge of what to do next time. Tonight, when you feel that heaviness behind your eyes, when you reach for the blanket and text someone and swallow something bitter out of a foil packet, you are not doing something new. You are doing what your species has always done when the body signals that something is wrong. You are still running the oldest program in your blood.